What if I told you that the so-called missing years of Jesus, those silent, mysterious years between his childhood and the beginning of his public ministry, were never really lost at all? What if the truth about these years had been preserved in a way that we've overlooked or misunderstood? Rather than being lost to history, what if these formative periods were chronicled in different traditions or records, waiting to be discovered or re-examined? Perhaps these years hold invaluable insights into his personal development, his teachings, and the foundations of his ministry, offering a new perspective on his life and the message he brought to the world. Consider the implications of rediscovering these years, how it could deepen our understanding of his journey and enrich our appreciation of his teachings. Deep within the rugged and majestic highlands of Africa lies a secret, shrouded under layers of mystery and obscurity. This secret, preserved for centuries, is safeguarded not just by the rugged terrain and isolation of the region, but also by its reverence as sacred knowledge by those few who are privy to its existence. It is protected within the brittle pages of manuscripts dating back to an era long before the Roman Empire, written in an ancient language whose complexities and nuances challenge even the most seasoned linguists. These manuscripts are not only aged by time, but are further obscured by the limitations and evolving boundaries of human knowledge, understanding, and cognition, challenging the very essence of what we believe to be possible. This enigma defies the ordinary, both guarded and forgotten, awaiting those who dare to seek its truths. The Western tradition being referred to here emphasizes not merely historical events and cultural practices, but represents a continuum of sacred memory. This sacred memory is an integral part of the identity of one of the world's oldest Christian communities. It entails a body of beliefs, customs, and traditions that have been vigilantly preserved and passed down through generations. This community, facing various challenges over centuries, has managed to keep its heritage remarkably untouched by the influences of colonization and external forces. This means that despite the tides of change and modernization, the core elements of their tradition have survived in a form that is as authentic and true to its origins as possible. The resilience of this tradition serves not only as a historical record, but also as a living testament to the community's unwavering faith and cultural richness, offering a unique insight into a way of life that has withstood the test of time. Throughout centuries, Ethiopia has been a bastion of ancient Christian heritage, preserving a rich tapestry of culture and faith that holds clues to a lesser-known chapter in the life of Jesus Christ. According to Ethiopian tradition, they possess scrolls and oral histories that suggest he spent part of his early life within their borders. This narrative, often overlooked by mainstream Christian teachings, points to a time before he was recognized as the Messiah. During this period, Ethiopia emerged as a place intrinsically linked to his formative years, a period shrouded in mystery and speculation. Ethiopia's connection to Christianity predates many Western records, and its ties include the claim that the Ark of the Covenant rests within its borders. The country's spiritual lore suggests that Jesus' early interactions in Ethiopia influenced his teachings and philosophies. This sacred link has been nurtured by Ethiopia's ancient churches, where murals, scriptures, and rituals have maintained this narrative. They believe that these accounts provide a unique glimpse into the spiritual and philosophical formation of Jesus, offering a view of him not just as a divine figure, but as a young man shaped by his experiences in their land. Over countless generations, the Ethiopians have safeguarded these stories, treating them as an integral part of their identity and faith. Their dedication to preserving this hidden chapter offers the world a chance to explore a profoundly significant, though often overlooked aspect of his life, one that has been lovingly kept alive through devotion and tradition. The story of how Ethiopia intertwines with the early life of Christ invites scholars and believers alike to delve deeper into this sacred and preserved connection. In the biblical narrative, the baptism in the Jordan and the Sermon on the Mount are pivotal moments that highlight the profound impact of Jesus Christ, whose presence is described as divine, powerful, and possessing wisdom beyond human comprehension. During his baptism in the Jordan River, Jesus was anointed by the Holy Spirit, marking the beginning of his public ministry and signaling his divine mission on earth. This event symbolized purification and a new beginning for humanity, and it underscored the significance of Jesus as the Son of God. The Sermon on the Mount, a renowned teaching delivered by Jesus, further exemplifies his extraordinary wisdom. In this sermon, he presented radical ideas about morality, spirituality, and the kingdom of heaven, emphasizing love, humility, and compassion. His teachings shook the foundations of traditional beliefs and continue to resonate through the ages. As history unfolded, the teachings and legacy of Jesus Christ found a deep connection with various cultures and regions, including Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Christian tradition holds a rich history that intertwines with the Bible stories, with roots tracing back to the ancient kingdom of Axum, which embraced Christianity in the 4th century. This long-standing Christian heritage continues to play a significant role in the religious and cultural identity of Ethiopia, serving as a testament to the enduring influence of Jesus' message of love, redemption, and divine wisdom. The 4 canonical Gospels of the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, serve as the primary sources for the life and teachings of Jesus Christ. However, these texts present a notable discontinuity in the biographical narrative of Jesus, particularly regarding the years spanning from his childhood to the beginning of his public ministry. The Gospels offer an exceptionally limited glimpse into Jesus' formative years, leaving many questions about his upbringing, education, and personal development. The most detailed account of Jesus' early life is found in the Gospel of Luke, which describes a significant event when Jesus is about 12 years old. During a pilgrimage to Jerusalem for the feast of the Passover, Jesus stays behind in the temple, engaging with teachers and astonishing them with his understanding and answers. This event provides a unique peek into Jesus' early engagement with religious leaders and his growing sense of mission. Despite this intriguing vignette, the Gospels then fast forward, making a considerable leap to the time when Jesus begins his public ministry around the age of 30. This ministry starts with his baptism by John the Baptist and continues with his teachings, miracles, and interactions with various groups of people across Judea, Samaria, and Galilee. The absence of information about Jesus' life between the ages of 12 and 30 has sparked much speculation and curiosity among scholars and theologians. Some have proposed that he may have spent these years studying Jewish law and customs or working as a carpenter in Nazareth, following in the footsteps of his earthly father, Joseph. Others have theorized more far-flung scenarios, suggesting travel and study in foreign lands, but there is no historical evidence to substantiate such claims. This gap in the narrative invites contemplation and has often led to a focus on the meanings and implications of the teachings and events that are recorded from his adult life. Between the ages of 41 to 52, a notable period in his life, he captivates the elders in the Temple of Jerusalem with his profound wisdom. This extraordinary event occurs during the Passover festival, a time when Jews from all over gather to commemorate their liberation from slavery in Egypt. His insightful discussions and deep understanding of Scripture leave the learned men of the temple astounded, showcasing his remarkable grasp of religious teachings and the divine. This passage not only highlights his exceptional intellect, but also points to his unique connection with God, suggesting an awareness of his divine mission from an early age. His ability to engage in such deep theological discussions implies a maturity and understanding well beyond his years. Following this significant episode, the narrative becomes silent on the specifics of his life for almost 12 years. This period, often referred to as the hidden years, leaves historians and theologians to speculate about his activities and life experiences during this formative time. It is a period absent from the canonical texts, thus leaving a gap in the chronology of his early years and prompting many questions about how he spent his youth and prepared for his future ministry. 2 decades follow, a period frequently referred to as the silent years or the hidden years of Jesus. During this time, there is no biblical record or detailed account of his adolescence, early adulthood, or the journey he took in those formal years. This notable gap spans from his return to Nazareth after his family's escape to Egypt to avoid King Herod's massacre of infants, up until the beginning of his public ministry around the age 30. These silent years have intrigued scholars, theologians, and historians alike, as they speculate on what Jesus might have experienced during this developmental phase. Some suggest he lived a typical, unassuming life in Nazareth, as a carpenter following in the footsteps of Joseph, his earthly father, learning the trade and engaging in the daily life of his community. Others propose that he might have traveled or studied, absorbing diverse teachings and cultures that influenced his later ministry. Nonetheless, the Bible does not provide specific details about this time, leaving room for reflection and interpretation about how these hidden years contributed to the man who would become a teacher, healer, and central figure in Christianity. And this enigmatic and puzzling gap in his early life, often referred to as the silent years, has sparked centuries of intense speculation and the creation of numerous alternative writings, all attempting to fill in the missing blanks of his biography. While the canonical Gospels, such as Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, focus on his birth and then skip to the start of his public ministry around the age of 30, they leave a significant portion of his life unaccounted for. This gap has led scholars, theologians, and writers to ponder and pontificate on what Jesus might have been doing during these formative years. Some apocryphal texts and legends suggest that Jesus traveled to distant lands, gaining wisdom from various cultures and religious traditions. Other interpretations consider the possibility that he lived a more ordinary life, perhaps working as a carpenter and learning about the human condition in preparation for his future teachings. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, these theories continue to intrigue and inspire those who seek a deeper understanding of the life of Jesus, filling the void left by the canonical texts with rich and varied narratives. As a result, the mystery of these years has become a canvas for artistic expression, theological debate, and spiritual exploration. While canonical scriptures remain silent on the matter, a number of apocryphal and historical texts, many of which have been excluded from the mainstream Christian doctrine, endeavor to piece together this enigmatic subject. These non-canonical writings, which include books like the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary, and the books of Enoch, often delve into theological and historical mysteries that the canonical texts do not address or clarify. Scholars and theologians who study these excluded texts attempt to uncover deeper insights and viewpoints that were not incorporated into the official canon for various reasons, ranging from theological disputes to historical politics. These texts provide alternative narratives and interpretations, enriching the broader understanding of early Christian thought and illustrating the diversity of beliefs that existed during the formative years of Christianity. The Ethiopian Bible stands out as a remarkable and highly significant document among religious texts. Its importance is not only due to its content, but also because it is considered by many scholars to be the oldest complete biblical canon that is still in existence today. This unique version is distinct from other biblical canons in several key ways. Firstly, the Ethiopian Bible, also known as the Ethiopic or Gaia's Bible, includes a broader collection of books than those found in the Protestant, Catholic, or even Eastern Orthodox Bibles. It contains a total of 81 books, which include a variety of texts that are not found in other versions of the Bible. For example, additional books such as Enoch, Jubilees, and the Pastorals of Hermas are included and considered canonical, providing a deeper insight into the theological perspectives of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. Moreover, the Ethiopic Bible is traditionally written in Ge'ez, an ancient liturgical language of Ethiopia that adds to its historical and cultural significance. Ge'ez, though no longer spoken as a vernacular, remains the liturgical language of the Ethiopian Church, akin to Latin in the Roman Catholic Church, thus preserving a rich tradition of biblical interpretation and scholarship in its original language. Furthermore, the Ethiopian Bible's comprehensive canon reflects the unique historical and theological development of Ethiopian Christianity. The inclusion of these extra books is indicative of the diverse and independent path that Ethiopian Christianity has taken, largely insulated from the theological disputes and political influences that shaped other Christian traditions. This has resulted in a tradition that maintains many ancient elements, offering a rich tapestry for scholars and believers alike to explore. The Bible, which continues to be deeply revered and held in high esteem by the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, offers a rich tapestry of narrative arcs, profound spiritual insights, and numerous miraculous accounts that detail the life and works of Jesus during those undoubted times. This sacred text, consisting of the Old and New Testaments, serves as a cornerstone of the Ethiopian Orthodox faith, guiding religious teachings, practices, and the daily lives of its followers. Ethiopia stands out in religious history due to its unique and ancient Christian heritage. Unlike many nations where Christianity spread mainly through European colonization, Ethiopia was already embracing the faith long before Western religious and colonial influences arrived on the continent. This early adoption of Christianity places Ethiopia among the oldest Christian communities globally, with a history that dates back to the early centuries of the Common Era. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church in particular has been a cornerstone of Ethiopian culture and spirituality, playing a vital role not just in religious life, but also in shaping the country's identity, art, and history. This historical depth gives Ethiopia a diverse and rich Christian tradition that has survived and thrived through centuries, contributing significantly to global Christian history. Ethiopia occupies a unique and significant place in the annals of religious history, not merely because of its long-standing religious traditions and institutions, but also for the unique place it holds in the development of Judeo-Christian scripture. Ethiopia is home to one of the oldest Christian communities in the world, with the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church tracing its roots back to the 4th century. This ancient church claims a lineage of uninterrupted tradition that includes the custody of the Ark of the Covenant, according to some local beliefs. Having been cut off from much of the outside world for considerable periods, particularly during the Middle Ages, Ethiopia developed a distinctive Christian tradition with unique liturgical languages, such as Ge'ez, and a vast body of scriptures and theological writings. This seclusion also allowed Ethiopian Christianity to preserve many ancient practices and interpretations that might offer a different lens on the biblical narrative compared to other Christian traditions. Furthermore, Ethiopia's religious significance is not limited to Christianity. It boasts a diverse religious landscape that includes Islam and Judaism, with communities that have coexisted for centuries. Ethiopian Jews, known as Beta Israel, claim an ancestral link to the ancient Israelites, further adding to the country's rich tapestry of religious heritage. The Ethiopian experience thus provides a multifaceted view on religious development, one deeply interwoven with its own cultural and historical narratives. Ethiopia holds a distinguished place in world history, not only because of its profound spiritual traditions, but also due to its unique standing as an African nation that successfully resisted colonization throughout much of its history. This steadfast independence is a remarkable feat, considering the widespread European imperialism that swept across the continent, particularly during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Ethiopia's ability to maintain its sovereignty allowed it to preserve and cultivate its rich cultural heritage and traditions. This remarkable feat of sovereignty and the development of a distinct national identity, coupled with its ancient Christian heritage and other faiths, firmly positions Ethiopia as a symbol of resilience and pride for its people, serving as an inspiration for other nations across the continent. In preserving its independence, Ethiopia has managed to retain a strong sense of cultural continuity and authenticity, contributing to its status as a beacon of African pride and a custodian of indigenous knowledge and traditions. This unique historical path has also enabled Ethiopia to play a significant role in Pan-African movements and in advocating for the dignity and rights of the continent's people. Reserve and protect ancient manuscripts, long-standing traditions, and sacred religious relics, ensuring they remain free from the undue interference, control, or censorship imposed by European imperial powers, is imperative. These manuscripts often contain invaluable historical knowledge, cultural expressions, and spiritual insights that are integral to the identity and heritage of their origin cultures. The Ethiopian Bible, meticulously written in Ge'ez, an ancient language that traces its roots to early Hebrew and Aramaic, stands as a testament to Ethiopia's rich spiritual history and the wealth of knowledge embedded within its texts. These texts are not merely books, they are revered as sacred artifacts, representing the continuity of religious practice, the preservation of language, and the transmission of tradition through generations. By safeguarding these treasures, we honor and uphold the dignity of the communities that have lovingly preserved them through centuries, despite the challenges posed by foreign dominion. The careful protection of these relics serves not only as a resistance to imperial cultural domination, but also as a cornerstone for the celebration, continuity, and understanding of diverse human experiences and histories. The ancient Ge'ez language, which holds a significant place in the history of the Ethiopian Church, encompasses a collection of 88 books. This collection is notably larger than the 66 books found in the widely known King James Version of the Bible. The additional 22 books in the Ge'ez Bible include a variety of apocryphal texts, which are considered non-canonical by many other Christian traditions. Apocryphal writings typically include works that were written during the intertestamental period, the time between the Old and New Testaments. These texts often contain historical narratives, religious teachings, and wisdom literature. For example, the Ge'ez Bible includes books like the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, which are not found in the King James Version. The inclusion of these additional books reflects the unique religious and cultural heritage of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, which views these writings as divinely inspired and integrate to their faith and practice. The mention of texts and expanded Old Testament writings refers to the inclusion of scriptures that fall outside the traditional canon recognized by mainstream Christian denominations. These expanded writings might include apocryphal or deuterocanonical books, which are often found in some Christian Bibles, like the Catholic or Orthodox versions, but are not part of the standard Protestant Bible. These writings often contain rich, intricate narratives that delve deeply into history, theology, and myth. For instance, some of these texts elaborate on the lives of biblical figures, provide additional laws, or offer more detailed prophetic visions. Others might present stories and teachings that emphasize moral or ethical lessons, providing new insights or interpretations of God's will. The phrase elaborate, detailed narratives, not typically found in mainstream Christian doctrine, highlights how these texts may explore themes or stories that are unfamiliar to most Christians. These might include different interpretations of familiar stories or entirely separate events that provide a broader or more colorful depiction of biblical history and theology. The study and reverence of these writings can create distinct teachings and traditions within certain Christian cultures, serving as key elements that differentiate them from other denominations that might focus solely on the recognized canonical texts. Ethiopia's Christian identity has a long and rich history that dates back to at least the 4th century AD, potentially even earlier. This foundation was laid largely through missionary movements that extended their influence across various regions. One significant figure in this early Christian history is Frumutius, who is traditionally credited with bringing Christianity to Ethiopia. He was a missionary who later became the first bishop of Aksum, consecrated by the Patriarch of Alexandria. Frumutius's mission laid the groundwork for the development of a distinct Ethiopian Christian tradition that has maintained continuous practice and belief over the centuries. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, established in these early days, remains one of the oldest and most unique Christian communities in the world. This church has developed its own liturgical language, Ge'ez, unique rituals, and a rich tradition of religious art and music. Despite periods of challenge and external threats, Ethiopia's Christian community has managed to preserve its religious practices and maintain a distinct identity. This continuity is particularly remarkable considering the numerous shifts in political and social landscapes over the centuries. The faith's deep roots in Ethiopian culture and society have allowed it to adapt and thrive, contributing to a remarkable continuity of Christian tradition. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church stands as a testament to the deep-rooted spiritual history of Ethiopia, which has been profoundly impacted by its resistance to foreign colonization. This resilience enabled the Church to develop in a relatively uninterrupted manner, preserving its unique rites, customs, and theological perspectives. Unlike many other regions where colonial powers imposed their own cultures and religious practices, often erasing or significantly altering the local traditions, Ethiopia largely escaped such a fate. One notable exception is Italy's brief occupation in the 20th century, but even this did not profoundly alter the Church's trajectory. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has ancient roots dating back to the 4th century AD, when it adopted Christianity. Its early adoption and continuous practice have made it one of the oldest organized Christian bodies in the world. The Church has its own distinctive liturgical language, Ge'ez, and its own canon of Scripture, which includes books not found in the Western Christian canon. The Church's ability to safeguard its traditions has been facilitated by Ethiopia's geographically strategic position and its formidable defense against colonization, as seen in the victory over Italy at the Battle of Adwa in 1896. Ethiopia's religious traditions have also been influenced by Jewish and Islamic practices, creating a rich tapestry of worship and belief that has been nurtured and maintained over the centuries. This blending of influences, combined with the relative isolation from colonizing forces, has allowed the Ethiopian Orthodox Church to maintain a continuity of faith and practice that is rare in the Christian world. This unique historical circumstance has ensured that the Church remains a living link to the early Christian traditions, offering a rare and invaluable glimpse into the past while actively shaping the spiritual life of millions in the present. Natural texts and oral traditions, which have been carefully transmitted from generation to generation, have maintained a remarkable degree of stability and consistency for over 1,600 years now. This historical preservation is not just an academic accomplishment, but a crucial gateway to understanding the roots and evolution of early Christian thought and practice. By studying these enduring texts and traditions, scholars can glean insights into the beliefs, rituals, and daily lives of early Christians, providing a more comprehensive picture of how they interpreted and lived out their faith. This understanding helps modern readers and practitioners grasp the continuity and changes in Christian doctrine, offering precious perspectives on the foundational elements of Christian identity over the centuries. By keeping alive these historical threads, the Christian tradition remains intimately linked to its origins, ensuring that the lessons, challenges, and triumphs of early followers continue to inform and shape contemporary faith experiences. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church firmly asserts that the Ark of the Covenant, a sacred chest that, according to biblical tradition, contains the stone tablets inscribed with the Ten Commandments, resides in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion, located in the historical town of Axum, Ethiopia. This claim is not only strong, but has been a long-standing tradition within the Ethiopian Orthodox faith. The foundation of this belief is deeply rooted in a highly respected ancient Ethiopian text known as the Kebra Nagast, or the Glory of Kings. The Kebra Nagast is considered a national and religious epic, chronicling the origin of the Solomonic line of the emperors of Ethiopia. It lays out a narrative connecting Ethiopia's rulers directly to the biblical King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. According to the legend, in this ancient text, the ark was brought to Ethiopia by Menelik I, the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, thus tying the nation's Christian heritage to Jewish traditions and biblical lineage. This belief is more than mere legend within Ethiopia. It is a fundamental part of religious identity and national heritage. The Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion remains a significant pilgrimage site, drawing visitors from around the world who are intrigued by the mystery and the devotion surrounding the Ark's supposed presence within its confines. while access to the ark is restricted and its presence can neither be confirmed nor denied due to lack of direct evidence. The faith invested in this tradition is a vital aspect of Ethiopian spirituality and identity. The narrative tracing the Ark of the Covenant to biblical Israel is deeply rooted in ancient religious and historical texts. According to the Bible, the Ark was a sacred chest built by the Israelites under divine instruction to house the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments. It signified God's covenant with the people of Israel and was an immensely important symbol of faith and divine presence. The story becomes particularly intriguing in relation to Ethiopia. According to Ethiopian tradition, based on the Kebra Nagast, a 14th century national epic, the ark was brought to Ethiopia by Menelik I. Menelik is said to be the offspring of the legendary King Solomon of Israel and the Queen of Sheba, named Makeda in Ethiopian tradition. According to this account, the Queen of Sheba traveled to Jerusalem to learn from the wise King Solomon, and their union resulted in the birth of Menelik. As the legend goes, Menelik visited his father in Jerusalem and upon returning to Ethiopia is believed to have taken the Ark of the Covenant with him. This act was either a divine plan to protect the Ark or a stealthy act carried out by Menelik and his companions, depending on the version of the legend. This account holds significant cultural and religious importance in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, in particular, venerates the Ark, believed by its followers to be housed in the Church of St. Mary of Zion in Aksum, Ethiopia. Therefore, this legendary tale not only connects ancient Ethiopia to the biblical narrative, but also highlights the cultural and religious synthesis that has played a key role in Ethiopian identity. Such accounts are often shrouded in mystery and debate, since they blend historical elements with myth and theology, leaving much room for interpretation and scholarly exploration. Nevertheless, the tale of the Ark in Ethiopia remains one of the most captivating biblical mysteries, intertwining the destinies of Israel and Ethiopia. While that particular tale belongs to another discussion entirely, it clearly underscores just how deeply intertwined Ethiopia is with biblical lore and tradition. The country's historical and cultural landscape is permeated with references to biblical events and figures. For instance, Ethiopia is often associated with the Queen of Sheba, who, according to the Bible, visited King Solomon and bore him a son, Menelik I, who is believed to have started the Solomonic dynasty in Ethiopia. Moreover, the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church holds many ancient manuscripts and religious texts that offer unique interpretations and insights into biblical stories, further solidifying Ethiopia's connection to these ancient traditions. These long-standing connections have lent significant credibility, at least with many believers and scholars, to the idea of Ethiopia's pivotal role and presence within the broader context of biblical history and narratives. The nation's historical ties to these stories continue to be a point of pride and theological importance, influencing the country's cultural and religious identity to this day. In Ethiopian tradition, the approach to the biblical canon is uniquely distinguished by its inclusion of a broader collection of sacred texts. This extended canon incorporates several writings that are not found in the standard Bibles of other Christian traditions. These additional texts include ancient works such as the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and the Shepherd of Hermas, among others. These writings provide deeper insights into theological themes, historical events, and spiritual teachings, and they offer unique perspectives not found in other biblical traditions. When it comes to the hidden years of Jesus, those undocumented years between his childhood and the beginning of his public ministry. The Ethiopian Bible offers a rich narrative that goes beyond mere spiritual interpretations. While many Christian denominations have speculated about these years with limited canonical information, the Ethiopian tradition provides a tapestry of accounts that give detailed episodes and teachings from this enigmatic period. This rich narrative offers stories and lessons that contribute to a fuller understanding of Jesus' life beyond what is commonly known from the New Testament Gospels. It presents unique insights into his development, his teachings, and the cultural and societal influences that may have shaped his mission. Through these texts, the Ethiopian biblical canon provides a multifaceted perspective on these so-called hidden years, enriching the global understanding of Jesus' life and work. The concept of Jesus' youth being meticulously documented in an ancient canon isn't just a matter of religious interest. It's a deeply ingrained cultural inheritance that has molded beliefs, traditions, and societal norms over centuries. This inheritance has played a pivotal role in shaping collective outlooks, moral systems, and cultural practices, forming a bedrock for the way history and identity are perceived and understood. Therefore, the notion that the early life of Jesus is not a mere product of religious imagination, but is instead preserved within a complex and ancient canon, transcends simple religious speculation. It's not just about the documentation or the narrative itself. It's about how these stories have been interwoven into the collective memory and identity of communities across generations. This deep-rooted narrative holds significance far beyond religious doctrine, as it serves as a foundation for understanding the past and interpreting the present. It echoes through various aspects of culture, from art and literature to traditions and ethical frameworks, highlighting how deeply embedded these narratives are in the cultural consciousness of societies around the world. Thus, the documentation of Jesus' early years stands as a vital piece of the historical narrative that has shaped civilizations, identities, and collective memories throughout history. The Ethiopic Bible represents an uninterrupted tradition that has been carefully preserved and deeply valued within the walls of Ethiopia's ancient monasteries and churches. This tradition has not only been maintained through the diligent copying of manuscripts, but also through oral histories passed down across many centuries. It includes a collection of texts that significantly differ from those found in the Western Christian canon, offering a unique lens into early Christian traditions and beliefs. Rich in its composition, the Ethiopic Bible contains numerous books that are not part of the Western canon, including texts from the Old Testament Pseudepigrapha and unique versions of biblical books reflecting a rich tapestry of religious history and interpretations. This collection highlights the diversity and richness of the Christian tradition as it developed in Ethiopia, a tradition that has remained vibrant and influential through the ages. Throughout history, various texts have been either lost, rejected, or considered apocryphal by different religious and historical traditions. This means that these writings were either not included in the canonical Bible or never fully accepted into the mainstream religious teachings due to questions about their authenticity, authority, or theological alignment. Among these texts are books such as the Book of Enoch, the Ascension of Isaiah, and a collection of infancy Gospels. These writings provide unique perspectives on religious themes, characters, and events that are not covered in the canonical texts. The Book of Enoch, for instance, is an ancient Jewish work that elaborates on the story of Enoch, a figure mentioned briefly in the book of Genesis. It delves into themes like the origins of angels, the nature of the cosmos, and the reasons for the Great Flood. Although not part of most Christian canons, it has influenced Christian, Jewish, and Islamic thought. The Ascension of Isaiah is a work that provides an account of the prophet Isaiah's visions and his journey through the heavens. It offers additional context about early Christian beliefs, particularly focusing on themes related to the Messiah and the afterlife. Infancy Gospels like the Proto-Evangelium of James explore stories about the early life of Jesus and his family. These texts give additional narratives about Jesus' upbringing, the role of Mary and Joseph, and sometimes even miraculous events surrounding Jesus' childhood. While these texts offer intriguing insights and can enrich the understanding of various religious narratives, they are often excluded from mainstream religious texts. The reasons for this exclusion include questions regarding their authorship, doctrinal differences, and sometimes the content that was deemed controversial or incompatible with accepted teachings. Nonetheless, they remain a fascinating part of the broader religious and cultural history. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish religious work attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, held a significant place in early Christian literature. Its contents, which include visions, prophecies, and revelations, were widely read and regarded as authoritative by many early Christians. This work significantly influenced early Christian thought, and its themes and ideas can be seen reflected in the New Testament and other early Christian writings. One of the notable figures in early Christianity, Tertullian, a prolific writer and theologian of the late 2nd and early 3rd centuries, frequently cited the Book of Enoch in his works. He considered it to be a valuable and authoritative text, pointing to its teachings and prophecies as support for his theological arguments. Tertullian is just one example of many early church fathers who valued the Book of Enoch. Other early Christian writers and thinkers also referenced it, which contributed to its widespread acceptance and influence. Despite its initial popularity and significant impact, the Book of Enoch was eventually excluded from the canonical texts of both Judaism and Christianity. Numerous factors contributed to its removal, including theological disputes, questions about its authorship and authenticity, and the varying acceptance of different texts across Christian communities. Some church leaders questioned the Book of Enoch's doctrinal consistency with other accepted scriptures, eventually leading to its exclusion from the Bible canon. As a result, while the Book of Enoch remains an important historical and religious text, its influence waned over time as the Christian canon became more standardized. Throughout history, various books have been included or excluded from the recognized religious texts, depending on the decisions made by religious councils and cultural influences. One notable example of this is a particular text that was removed from the Western canon by later ecclesiastical councils. The Western canon refers to the collection of books that are generally accepted by Western Christianity as authoritative and inspired. However, these councils sometimes debated and decided upon the inclusion or exclusion of certain texts based on various criteria, including theological alignment, historical accuracy, and apostolic origin. In contrast, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church has maintained a different approach, continuing to accept and recognize this text as an integral part of its scriptural canon. The Ethiopian Orthodox canon is notably broader than the Western canon, encompassing books that other traditions do not include. This divergence highlights the rich diversity within Christianity regarding the contents of the Bible and reflects the unique historical and cultural context that has shaped religious traditions around the world. This acceptance by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church adds significant context to Christian theology and eschatology, or the study of end times. By considering this text as sacred, Ethiopian Christianity offers a different perspective on biblical interpretation and prophetic literature, potentially leading to differences in doctrine and eschatological expectations. Understanding these differences is crucial for a comprehensive study of Christianity's diverse beliefs and their historical development. This narrative not only delves into the remarkable and otherworldly elements of Jesus' genealogy, but also the miraculous events that surrounded his birth and early childhood. These aspects highlight the divine intervention and the heavenly orchestration evident in his lineage. Unlike the King James Bible, a monumental project that was carefully compiled under the patronage of King James I of England in 1611 by a distinguished committee of 47 scholars, this account places a stronger emphasis on the divine nature of Jesus' origins. It speaks to a supernatural lineage with events that surpass human understanding, setting Jesus apart from ordinary human lineage. And scholars examining the Ethiopian canon frequently do so by considering the political and religious influences that have shaped its development over time. They might focus, for example, on how the canon was influenced by historical power dynamics, societal shifts, or efforts by religious authorities to consolidate their influence. However, this perspective can sometimes lead to an underappreciation of the deeply rooted and organically evolved nature of the Ethiopian canon. The Ethiopian canon is unique in its composition and transmission. It encompasses a rich tapestry of not just written texts, but also oral traditions. These oral elements have been meticulously preserved and passed down through generations, ensuring that the spiritual and cultural essence of these traditions is maintained. This oral heritage often carries stories, teachings, and interpretations that enrich the canonical texts, offering a multifaceted understanding of faith and practice that is deeply intertwined with the people's cultural identity. Therefore, when one looks beyond the surface-level interplay of politics and religion and delves deeper into the Ethiopian canon, they discover a tradition that has evolved in a natural, organic manner. This evolution has been guided by the continuous contributions of both written and oral traditions, creating a rich spiritual and cultural tapestry that reflects its ancient and diverse heritage. It stands as a testament to the complex and layered history of Ethiopian Christianity, one that must be understood on its own terms, respecting its unique contributions to the broader Christian tradition. And religious texts that had been circulating since the very first centuries following Christ's death played a pivotal role in the formation of early Christian doctrine and the broader cultural landscape. These texts, which include Gospels, letters, and apocalyptic writings, were initially shared orally before being transcribed and copied by hand. The notable difference in the manner of their preservation and dissemination as compared to other historical documents signifies the complex processes of canonization, the role of oral tradition, and the varying degrees of authority attributed to these writings over time. This speaks to the diverse and sometimes contested nature of early Christian beliefs and practices. The fact that many of these stories and texts were not uniformly preserved highlights the various streams of tradition and the differing levels of acceptance among early Christian communities. Furthermore, the process of deeming certain texts as canonical while rendering others as apocryphal or heretical reflects the theological debates and power dynamics within the early church, shaping the development of Christian theology as it moved into the Middle Ages and beyond. The texts, often referred to as lost, forbidden, or apocryphal, have a complex history, particularly within Ethiopian Christianity, where they were not only included, but revered long before they faced exclusion by Western Christian authorities. This inclusion highlights a significant divergence in the formation of the biblical canon as recognized by different Christian traditions. In Ethiopia, these texts, which might include works like the Book of Enoch or the Book of Jubilees, were considered a fundamental part of the sacred scriptures. They were often integrated into the religious and cultural identity, believed to convey divine wisdom and authority. This stands in contrast to the Western Church, where the formation of the biblical canon involved a process of selection and exclusion, leading to the marginalization and eventual dismissal of these texts from what became the standard biblical canon in much of the Western world. Thus, the Ethiopian tradition preserves an alternate and equally ancient perspective on what constitutes Holy Scripture. It's a common misconception to think that Christianity in Africa began only with the advent of European colonization in the 15th century. However, this view overlooks the deep-rooted history of Christianity in regions such as Ethiopia, where it has had a presence since the earliest days of the faith. This history serves as an important reminder that the development of Christianity in Africa was not merely a byproduct of European influence, but has independent origins that are deeply woven into the continent's history. Ethiopia's connection to Christianity reaches back to the 1st century, reflecting a unique and long-standing tradition. According to historical records, Ethiopia's Christian heritage began as early as the Apostolic Age, notably marked by the conversion of the Ethiopian eunuch, a royal official as recounted in the Acts of the Apostles. This event signifies the introduction of Christianity to Africa through organic means rather than through colonial imposition. As Christianity found fertile ground in Ethiopia, it was embraced and developed in a distinctly Ethiopian way. The founding of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church can be traced back to the 4th century under the reign of King Ezena of Aksum, who declared Christianity the state religion. This early adoption showcases the rich spiritual heritage and the establishment of a unique Christian tradition on the African continent, one that evolved separately from European Christianity and was influenced by the local culture and traditions. The existence of ancient Christian kingdoms and communities in Africa challenges the narrative that the continent's engagement with Christianity is solely a byproduct of colonialism. In fact, the history of Christianity in Ethiopia and other parts of Africa reflects a story of continuity, adaptation, and resilience, showcasing the influence of African cultures on the faith and its practices. This rich tapestry broadens the understanding of Christianity's global heritage, emphasizing its long-standing and diverse roots on the African continent. Christianity's adoption as the state religion in Ethiopia during the 4th century is a significant historical milestone, placing Ethiopia among the earliest nations to embrace Christianity officially. This event took place under the reign of King Ezana of Aksum. He was converted by Frumentius, a missionary who later became the first bishop of Aksum, consecrated by Saint Athanasius of Alexandria. This move by King Ezana marked one of the first instances of a nation declaring Christianity as its official religion, predating the Roman Empire's declaration of Christianity as the official religion under Emperor Theodosius I at the end of the 4th century. Ethiopia's early embrace of Christianity highlights its pivotal role in the history of the religion. This early adoption reflects how Christianity spread through various channels, such as trade routes, and how it took root in different parts of the world simultaneously. Ethiopia's unique position in the development of early Christianity also had a lasting cultural impact, with the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church becoming a central element of Ethiopian identity and spirituality. This demonstrates the diverse ways in which Christianity was adopted and adapted across different cultures and regions in its formative centuries. It underscores the simultaneous yet independent development of Christian communities around the world. This claim is supported by historians such as Cosmos Indicoplistis, a 6th century traveler and monk, renowned for his detailed accounts of various cultures and religious customs. Indicoplistis, who is perhaps best known for his work Christian Topography, used his extensive travels to provide a comprehensive look at the world as he knew it, intertwining geographical, ethnographic, and religious insights. Indicoplistis' work is particularly notable for his descriptions of the ancient Ethiopian kingdom of Aksum. He provides valuable first-hand observations of the region's early Christian traditions, taking note of their unique customs and practices. His accounts highlight the spread of Christianity beyond the Roman Empire to distant corners of the known world, underscoring Aksum's importance as a center of early Christianity in Africa. These accounts are invaluable to historians, providing a rare contemporaneous glimpse into the religious life and intercultural exchanges of the time. His documentation serves as crucial evidence of the historical presence and influence of Christianity in regions far beyond Europe, demonstrating the religion's diverse and widespread reach during this period. The records from the kingdom provide intriguing insight into the Christian community that flourished there. They reveal not just the presence of Christianity, but a vibrant and complex society, deeply engaged in its faith. The churches, as described, were not just places of worship, but served as centers for community life, fostering a sense of unity and identity among believers. These structures likely played a significant role in the dissemination of Christian teachings and the organization of the community. Moreover, the mention of active theological debates highlights the community's intellectual vigor and diversity of thought. Followers likely engaged in discussions and sometimes disputes over interpretations of scriptures, doctrines, and the application of their beliefs in daily life. This indicates a mature and dynamic community where matters of faith were deeply pondered and debated. Furthermore, the existence of systems designed to protect persecuted Christians speaks to the community's compassion and commitment to solidarity. These systems likely provided shelter, food, and perhaps legal assistance to those fleeing persecution, demonstrating an organized effort to uphold the Christian values of mercy and hospitality. This network of protection not only offered immediate aid, but also symbolized hope and resilience for Christians facing adversity. This aspect of their society underscores their reputation for being a safe haven during tumultuous times, reinforcing a collective identity built around both spiritual devotion and social responsibility. In expanding on the idea of Ethiopia's role in the early development of Christianity, it's important to highlight that this ancient nation was home to one of the first Christian kingdoms. The Kingdom of Aksum, located in what is now northern Ethiopia and Eritrea, adopted Christianity as its official religion in the early 4th century, around the same time as the Roman Empire. This makes Ethiopia one of the world's oldest Christian states. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, one of the oldest organized Christian bodies in the world, has maintained a continuous presence since those early days. Ethiopian Christians, therefore, didn't just adopt Christianity, played a critical role in the early spread and development of Christian doctrines and practices, influencing the faith's formation in significant ways. They translated the Bible into Ge'ez, their liturgical language, and developed unique liturgical traditions, music, and art that have enriched the broader Christian heritage. Moreover, Ethiopia's early adoption and long history with Christianity meant that it became a guardian of early Christian texts and traditions, some of which have been preserved uniquely in this region. The Ethiopian Church's claim of possessing the Ark of the Covenant, for instance, highlights how deeply intertwined their history is with biblical narratives. Thus, Ethiopia stands not just as a recipient of Christianity, but as a dynamic and influential contributor to its early foundations. Their early and significant embrace of the faith underscores Ethiopia's role as a beacon of early Christian thought, culture, and heritage to the faith. They were both considered pivotal figures, not only as founders, but also as steadfast preservers of the foundational elements of early Christian doctrine and mysticism. They played a significant role in ensuring the continuity and integrity of the teaching that formed the bedrock of Christian communities. Through their dedication, they safeguarded and propagated the beliefs that would eventually shape the faith and its practices. These early leaders were meticulous in preserving a variety of texts, including those depicting the youth of Jesus. These accounts were filled with stories of divine encounters and miraculous events, which were crucial in enriching the narrative tapestry of early Christianity. This rich tapestry included not only the life and teachings of Jesus as an adult, but also offered a glimpse into his earlier years, filled with signs and wonders. The inclusion of these miraculous youthful experiences helped to affirm the divinity of Jesus from an early age, thus strengthening the faith of believers in his divine nature and mission. This preservation of diverse texts was essential in maintaining the depth and richness of early Christian traditions and beliefs. And the concepts of divine power, healing, and wisdom are integral elements that showcase the deep-rooted theological tradition within Christianity, particularly emphasizing the multifaceted nature of Jesus' mission and identity. Divine power refers to the supreme authority and miraculous capabilities attributed to Jesus, which are believed to underpin the transformative power of his teachings and actions. This divine power is evident in the Gospels, where Jesus performs miracles, demonstrating his dominion over nature, illness, and even death, thus affirming his divine origin and authority. Healing, both physical and spiritual, is another critical aspect of Jesus' ministry. This emphasis on healing illustrates not only his compassion and concern for the marginalized and suffering, but also serves as a metaphor for the broader spiritual restoration and reconciliation he offers to humanity. By healing the sick and forgiving sins, Jesus exemplifies the holistic salvation he brings, addressing both the physical and spiritual brokenness of the world. Wisdom as an attribute highlights Jesus' profound understanding and teaching of divine truths. His parables and sermons, such as the Sermon on the Mount, convey moral and ethical principles that have had a lasting impact on Western thought and spirituality. His teachings reveal a wisdom that transcends human understanding, inviting followers to live in a way that reflects the kingdom of God. Incorporating these elements is essential for a comprehensive understanding of Jesus in Western Christian thought. These aspects offer a fuller scope of his mission, moving beyond a simplistic interpretation to acknowledge the complexities of his identity and the profundity of his impact. This comprehensive view underscores that the Western Christian understanding of Jesus cannot be complete without recognizing how these attributes contribute to understanding his purpose and message. It's impossible to fully understand the history of religious texts and the diffusion of early Christianity without acknowledging alternative ancient sources. A significant breakthrough occurred in 2010 when scholars uncovered an illustrated gospel written in Ge'ez, an ancient South Semitic language. This discovery was groundbreaking because Ge'ez had largely faded from historical memory, and its literary treasures were thought to be lost. The Gospel's illustrations and texts offer a unique window into the religious, cultural, and linguistic dynamics of the period, shedding light on the diverse ways Christianity was practiced and understood in different communities. This particular gospel not only enriches the corpus of early Christian literature, but also challenges existing narratives about the spread of the faith and the languages it utilized. The language Guz, still actively used in Ethiopian liturgy, particularly in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, represents a profound link to the country's rich history. This ancient tongue is not only a cornerstone of religious ceremonies, but also a repository of Ethiopians' historical literature. The discovery of an untouched Guz manuscript in a remote monastery situated high atop a rugged mountain adds a new layer to our understanding of the region's cultural and religious heritage. Such manuscripts, often guarded by the monastic community for centuries, provide invaluable insights into the traditions and teachings that have been preserved away from the influences of modern civilization. This remarkable discovery could potentially reveal new chapters of Ethiopian history, offer fresh perspectives on the development of Christian liturgy, and enhance our understanding of the Guz language's evolution and its role in preserving cultural identity. The discovery and study of the Gospel in Ethiopia have added significant credibility to the notion that the region has authentically preserved early Christian traditions. This Gospel, a cherished manuscript, is adorned with vibrant and intricate symbolic artwork, including detailed illuminations and illustrations that reflect both the artistry and devotion of its creators. These artistic elements are not mere decorations but are imbued with profound symbolism, each telling a story or conveying deep theological meaning. The richly detailed passages within the Gospel are filled with teachings, stories, and parables that offer deep insight into early Christian thought and practice. These writings demonstrate the continuity and preservation of a spiritual heritage, which has been transmitted through generations. The Gospel's presence in Ethiopia attests to the region's historical role as a custodian of early Christian doctrine, safeguarding its beliefs, practices, and cultural expressions in a form that remains closely aligned with its ancient roots. Thus, the Ethiopian tradition contributes a unique and invaluable perspective to the broader understanding of early Christianity's development and historical journeys. The Gospel in question, often considered an apocryphal or non-canonical text, offers an expansive glimpse into the life and teachings of Jesus, going beyond the narratives found in the traditional Western biblical canon, particularly the Synoptic Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Whereas these Synoptic Gospels provide a general overview of Jesus' ministry, focusing on his teachings, miracles, death, and resurrection, this alternative text delves into aspects of Jesus' early years, offering unique insights into his childhood, family interactions, and the formative moments that shaped his character and mission. Additionally, this text may include teachings and interactions that provide a different emphasis or context to Jesus' words and actions compared to those found in the canonical Gospels. Because of its exclusion from the mainstream biblical canon, it is often considered with skepticism by some, but regarded as a crucial piece of historical and theological understanding by others. It reflects the diversity of early Christian thought and the variety of ways in which different communities understood and related to the figure of Jesus. By including stories and details not present in the more widely recognized texts, this gospel contributes to a multifaceted portrayal of Jesus' life, enhancing our understanding of his impact and the varied ways in which his story was told and interpreted in antiquity. In the Gospels, particularly these Gnostic texts, depict a version of Jesus that is deeply entwined with his divine mission from a very young age. These texts bring to light a profound sense of purpose and messianic awareness that Jesus is portrayed as having, even in his formative years. This differs from the narrative typically emphasized in Western Christian traditions, which tend to focus more on his public ministry and teachings in adulthood. By highlighting Jesus' spiritual identity and mission awareness early in his life, these texts offer a unique perspective that accentuates his consciousness of his role and destiny, suggesting that his sense of being the Messiah was present and developing long before he began his well-documented adult ministry. A divine figure whose earthly journey was marked by significant milestones. The delay of Christ's presentation until his baptism highlights the importance of this moment in Ethiopian Christian tradition. Baptism, in this context, is not just a ritual of purification, but a pivotal event that marks the official recognition of Jesus' spiritual mission and divine anointing. The Ethiopian Christian tradition places a strong emphasis on visual storytelling through vivid illustrations. These artworks not only served as a means to enhance the biblical narrative for worshipers, but also functioned as theological tools that conveyed the complex understanding of Christ's dual nature as both human and divine. Christ is depicted not only as an instructor or the Savior who sacrifices himself for humanity's redemption, but also as a figure whose every action and event in his life bore deep symbolic significance. This portrayal underlined the belief in the Incarnation, where Christ's human experiences were integral to his role as the divine Son of God. Therefore, every aspect of his earthly life, from his delayed baptism to his teachings and miracles, was seen as a divine act that provided a template for faithful living and understanding God's will. From the very moment of his birth, T was perceived as an eternal being, whose divine authority and purpose were evident to all around him, marking him as a figure of immense religious significance. This understanding is encapsulated in various sacred texts, renowned for their depth and breadth, found in Ethiopia. Among these texts, the infancy Gospels stand out as particularly fascinating and well-preserved. These writings meticulously chronicle the early life of major religious figures, offering detailed accounts of miracles and significant events that surrounded their childhood years. These narratives not only reinforce their extraordinary nature, but also play a crucial role in symbolizing the divine mission and spiritual impact of these figures from a very young age. The miraculous events that defined Jesus' childhood are not only numerous, but also exceptionally captivating, blending the ordinary with the divine in ways that have fascinated believers and scholars alike. Among these remarkable accounts, one legend stands out for its vivid portrayal of Jesus' divine power and creativity, even as a child. This tale, often recounted in apocryphal texts and Christian folklore, tells of a young Jesus who, while playing with other children, molded birds out of clay. In an extraordinary act, he breathed life into these inanimate shapes, transforming them into living creatures that took flight. This act is seen as a potent symbol of Jesus' divine nature and his role as a creator, echoing themes of God's own creative power as described in the book of Genesis. By giving life to the clay birds, Jesus demonstrates his unique connection to the divine, his mastery over life and death, and his role in the divine plan, illustrating his mission on earth and foreshadowing the miracles and teachings that would later define his ministry. In this single act, the story encapsulates the extraordinary nature of Jesus, suggesting that his capacity for miracles and his connection to the divine were evident even in his earliest years, long before his public ministry began. Such stories serve as powerful reminders of the belief in Jesus' miraculous abilities and his divine mission, laying a foundation for the faith and devotion that would follow him throughout his life and beyond. The idea of divine creativity, particularly in the context of religious texts, often alludes to the divine's capacity to create and inspire creations that are both material and spiritual in nature. An example of this can be found in the various apocryphal texts, which aren't part of the canonical Bible, but offer rich stories and insights into the early Christian imagination. One notable story comes from the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, an apocryphal text that explores the childhood of Jesus. In these narratives, Jesus is depicted as a child with extraordinary creative powers, including the ability to shape living beings from clay. This imagery illustrates Jesus' divine nature and hints at his future role in creation and miracles. The significance of such stories in Ethiopian Christianity is profound. Ethiopia is home to one of the oldest Christian traditions in the world, and its church, the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, has a unique canon that includes several books not found in the Western Bible. The reverence for these apocryphal texts, including those recounting the creative acts of Jesus in his youth, reflects a deep respect for the mystery and depth of the Christian narrative. These stories serve not only as a testament to the early Christians' efforts to understand Jesus' divine nature, but also as a means of exploring themes of faith, the miraculous, and the mystery of the divine in everyday life. The preservation of these texts in Ethiopian Christianity highlights the unique and rich tradition of Ethiopian Christians and their deep engagement with the broader Christian story. From a young age, the suggested accounts about Christ's divine nature were not merely regarded as fanciful tales or allegorical stories. Rather, they were taken earnestly as true depictions, deeply imbued with theological significance. These narratives, while not included in the canonical texts of the majority of Western Bibles, found resonance and acceptance in various early Christian communities. These communities did not dismiss these stories as apocryphal or irrelevant. Instead, they revered them for their portrayal of the miraculous and the divine in Christ's life. By preserving and venerating these stories, these communities demonstrated the importance they placed on understanding and interpreting the breadth of Christ's divine characteristics and miraculous deeds. Thus, these stories, even though they found their way into what was later considered non-canonical literature, wielded a substantial influence on the faith and teachings of early Christianity. The concept of D as myth in Ethiopia can be understood as the way certain narratives and figures, possibly including that of Jesus, are interwoven into the cultural and spiritual fabric of the society. In Ethiopia, myths are not just stories, but carry profound significance, shaping the nation's identity, beliefs, and traditions. Jesus' portrayal in Ethiopian tradition is particularly unique, unlike some Christian doctrines where his divine abilities are only highlighted in the years of his ministry, starting around the age of 30. Ethiopian myths and scriptures suggest that Jesus' miraculous powers were evident much earlier. These stories were shared and preserved through both oral traditions and written texts, reflecting the deep devotion of the people. This community held a firm belief in the continuity of Jesus' divine nature, arguing that his capabilities and the signs of his spiritual mission were not sudden revelations at a later age, but were manifest from his youth. These accounts are seen as vital components of Ethiopian Christianity, enriching the tapestry of faith and expressing a deeply rooted belief in the constant divine presence and influence of Jesus throughout his life. The Ethiopian perspective offers a rich tapestry that goes beyond recognizing Jesus's well-known miracles. It paints a picture of a life continuously imbued with spiritual significance and divine intervention, a narrative deeply woven into the ethos and spirituality of the Ethiopian Christian community. Throughout his early life, there were numerous occasions that showcased his extraordinary abilities, which left a profound impact on those around him. Even from a young age, he exhibited a unique ability to perform miracles, often demonstrating an understanding and command over the natural and spiritual realms that was astonishing for someone of his age. There are accounts of him healing those who were injured, similar to the way the carpenter Joseph, who many believe to be his earthly father, would have skillfully repaired broken items in his workshop. These acts of healing weren't limited to simple ailments, but extended to profound miracles, such as restoring sight to the blind and mobility to the paralyzed, which astonished those who witnessed them. The most remarkable of these demonstrations was his ability to raise individuals from the dead, a feat that placed him beyond the realm of ordinary human experience and firmly within the domain of the divine. These acts of resurrection were not only seen as miracles, but also as powerful symbols of his connection to a higher spiritual authority. Each of these remarkable stories contributes to the depth and richness of his spiritual portrait, painting a picture of a life intertwined with divine purpose and miraculous deeds that continue to inspire faith and devotion. In the Ethiopian Christian tradition, which is rich with various apocryphal and non-canonical texts, there are numerous accounts that emphasize Jesus' miraculous powers over life and death. These stories, often part of the oral tradition, highlight the divine nature of Jesus and are meant to inspire awe and reverence. One notable story involves a miraculous event where a child, who is depicted as having angered or provoked Jesus in some way, possibly through mockery or disbelief, is suddenly struck down. This dramatic act serves as a demonstration of Jesus' divine authority and power. What's particularly striking is that after the child is struck down, Jesus later revives the child, showcasing not only his control over death, but also his compassion and mercy. This tale, like many others in Ethiopian Christianity, emphasizes the miraculous and divine nature of Jesus' life on earth. It serves as a reminder of his ultimate power over life and death, a theme that resonates deeply within the broader context of Christian teachings on resurrection and redemption. Moreover, it's a story that likely served as a teaching tool, conveying lessons about the consequences of disbelief and disobedience, while ultimately underscoring the themes of forgiveness and divine mercy. The text refers to miraculous events in the life of Jesus Christ, particularly instances where he showed mercy by restoring individuals to life. These remarkable episodes highlight not only Jesus' divinity, but also his complex nature as he navigates human emotions and displays a powerful, supernatural presence. In the accounts where Jesus raises the dead, such as Lazarus or Jairus' daughter, we see him deeply moved by compassion and empathy. These stories showcase his awareness of suffering and his desire to alleviate it, reflecting the profound mercy and love that characterizes his mission on earth. Moreover, these episodes illustrate the duality of Jesus' identity. He embodies human traits, like feeling sorrow and shedding tears, while simultaneously demonstrating divine authority and power over life and death. His supernatural presence is unmistakable, affirming his divine mission and the belief that he is the Son of God with a unique purpose. In balancing these aspects, Jesus' life demonstrates a deep complexity as he moves through human experiences while carrying out a divine agenda. Apocryphal stories, which are not included in the canonical texts of mainstream Bibles, provide a rich tapestry of early Christian beliefs, ideas, and imagination about the nature and life of Jesus Christ. These narratives and anecdotes, while not considered authoritative or doctrinal by many scholarly and religious communities, serve to underscore and explore various aspects of Jesus' character, his miraculous acts, and the interpretations of his teachings. These stories, which range from dramatic and miraculous accounts to the everyday and mundane, illuminate early Christians' efforts to understand and articulate their faith. They delve into his early years, shedding light on the so-called hidden years of Jesus' life, about which the canonical Gospels say very little. This includes tales of his childhood, which reveal early indications of his divine nature and miraculous abilities. The apocryphal Acts and Sayings aim to offer insights into his ministries, miracles, and the profound spiritual truths he imparted to his followers. Furthermore, these apocryphal writings reflect and contribute to the diversity of thought and belief in early Christianity. They highlight the ways in which different communities and sects interpreted the life and significance of Jesus, often emphasizing aspects that resonated with their particular theological or cultural context. These stories serve as a testament to the expansive and varied landscape of early Christian thought, illustrating the ways in which peoples sought to comprehend and connect with the divine. Their exploration of Jesus' nature and mission reflects a vibrant and dynamic faith that was still defining itself. Wow, you've made some revelations. I hope this lesson will resonate with my audience. If you found this lesson useful, you can picture the challenges these early Christians faced in seeking and fulfilling their mission. Imagine them forging ahead and declaring the way, challenging the notions, and teaching their faith the wonder, mystery, and divine power attributed to him even during his childhood years speak volumes about the perception of his unique nature from an early age. This element of his biography is often highlighted in texts that emphasize his miraculous and divine attributes, contrasting sharply with the synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, which tend to focus more on historical events and teachings. The synoptic Gospels provide a more grounded account, focusing on the teachings, parables, and the socio-political context of his life. In contrast, narratives highlighting his early years often explore miraculous events such as precocious wisdom, miraculous deeds, or divine proclamations, crafting a picture of a figure whose very nature was extraordinary and imbued with spiritual significance from the outset. This divergence in focus provides a rich tapestry of interpretations, ranging from the historical to the mystical, each offering distinct insights into his life and the manifold ways it has been understood over time. In Ethiopian Christianity, the narratives present a deeply integrated understanding of Jesus Christ, emphasizing his embodiment of both full humanity and full divinity. This holistic portrayal is woven into the fabric of Ethiopian liturgy, art, and theology, where stories of Christ's life, from his miraculous birth to his profound resurrection, are explored and revered in their entirety. The veneration of Jesus' dual nature is prevalent, demonstrating his experiences as genuinely human, having walked, suffered, and rejoiced among us, while simultaneously embodying divine essence, performing miracles, and offering salvation through his sacrificial death and victory over death. In contrast, the Western Church's narrative approach has often been characterized by a narrower focus, sometimes emphasizing specific aspects of Jesus' life or doctrinal points, such as his role in redemption or his divine nature. This focus can lead to a less integrated portrayal, with teachings sometimes spotlighting particular events or characteristics rather than the encompassing narrative of his life's journey, as seen in Ethiopian Christianity. This difference in narrative focus underscores a significant divergence in how Christ's dual nature and his life events are appreciated across different Christian traditions. Jesus' life and teachings, which are central to the Christian faith. The Ethiopian tradition, in particular, emphasizes the profound significance of each event in Jesus' ministry. It invites believers to delve deeply into understanding the cultural and historical context of these happenings to better grasp their spiritual implications. Starting with his baptism, Jesus' public ministry began with this pivotal moment, which marked the divine affirmation of his identity and mission. The Ethiopian tradition regards the baptism as a sacred ordinance that symbolizes purification and the beginning of a transformative journey. Jesus' miracles, viewed as acts that manifest divine power, are seen not only as historical events, but also as teachings that reveal the compassionate nature of God. The Ethiopian Christian narrative encourages followers to recognize the miracles as signs of the kingdom of God breaking into the world, calling for faith and trust in Jesus as the Messiah. Additionally, the parables that Jesus shared are examined as rich, metaphorical narratives intended to convey spiritual truths. Ethiopians often contemplate these stories, discussing their depth and what they reveal about the nature of God's kingdom and the expected conduct of believers. Finally, the focus on Jesus' death and resurrection is essential in Ethiopian Christianity, as these events are viewed as the culmination of his redemptive work. His sacrifice is believed to atone for humanity's sins, and his resurrection is celebrated as the triumph over death. Ethiopian Christians meditate on these profound mysteries, affirming the hope of eternal life and the transformative power of resurrection in daily life. By engaging with these core elements of Jesus' public ministry, the Ethiopian tradition encourages a contemplative examination of the sacredness of Christ's life and the transformative impact it holds for believers. The exploration of Jesus' life journey, including the periods that the Bible leaves silent, enables us to develop a richer and more complete narrative of his existence. Traditional biblical accounts focus primarily on the pivotal moments of his birth, ministry, crucifixion, and resurrection. However, by considering the undocumented years, we open ourselves to imagining the full spectrum of his experiences, from his formative years as a child growing up in Nazareth, to the relationships he built, the trials he faced, and the wisdom he accumulated. This broader understanding allows us to perceive how the culture, politics, and daily life of his time might have influenced his teachings, making his spiritual messages more relatable and applicable to the context of his listeners. It also presents an opportunity to connect the dots between his human experiences and his divine mission, thereby providing a fuller picture of his purpose and the impact of his legacy. This comprehensive narrative enhances our understanding of Jesus, not as a figure defined solely by sacred texts, but as a living being whose entire life journey bears significance to his teachings and the spirituality they inspire. With lived experience and cultural context, we find that the silent years of Jesus, a term often used to describe the period between his early childhood and the beginning of his public ministry, are ripe for exploration. This mystery is intriguing not just because it opens up possibilities about his growth and development, but also because it offers a profound opportunity to understand the human and divine nature of Jesus within the historical context of first-century Judea. During this time frame, which spans from his youth after the visit to the Jerusalem temple around the age of 12 until the start of his ministry at about 30, the scriptures provide very few explicit details. Yet, the surrounding cultural and historical backdrop of the era offers a rich tapestry against which to imagine his life. Growing up in Nazareth, a small town in Galilee, Jesus would have been embedded in the daily rhythms of Jewish family and communal life, learning the traditions and stories of his people, participating in religious practices, and perhaps even learning a trade, likely carpentry, from Joseph. These years in Nazareth, while unrecorded, might have been fundamental in shaping Jesus' perspectives and teachings. He lived during a time of complex social, political, and religious dynamics, with Roman rule and Hellenistic influences interacting with Jewish traditions. Such an environment could have provided the context for his profound understanding of human nature, social justice, and spiritual truth, which later emerged so powerfully in his teachings. In conclusion, although the silent years of Jesus remain a deeply fascinating and enduring mystery, the preserved scriptures, along with the rich tapestry of historical and cultural context, offer glimpses and insights. These allow us to piece together and ponder what might have been, and how they shape the man who would profoundly influence the world with his message of love, compassion, and redemption. Ethiopia's traditions offer a window into a deeply rooted spiritual heritage characterized by an unwavering devotion to the life and teachings of Jesus Christ. This rich spiritual legacy is not limited to a few isolated events, but encompasses every phase of Jesus' existence, from his miraculous birth and vulnerable childhood to his profound acts of wisdom and his divine mission on earth. In Ethiopian Christianity, particularly within the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, the celebration of Jesus' life is holistic and immersive. They honor his nativity with great fervor, recognizing the incarnation of God in human form as a pivotal moment that forever changed history. His childhood is similarly venerated, emphasizing events like his presentation at the temple, which highlight his early recognition as the Messiah. The Ethiopian Church also places a strong emphasis on the teachings and miracles of Jesus, viewing them not just as historical accounts, but as living examples to guide the faithful in their daily lives. They regard his parables and sermons, such as the Sermon on the Mount, as timeless wisdom that continues to offer guidance and inspiration. Moreover, the sacred mission of Jesus, his suffering, crucifixion, and resurrection, is at the heart of their worship, symbolizing the ultimate victory over sin and death. Pilgrimages to holy sites, vibrant liturgical celebrations, and a calendar filled with feast days dedicated to various aspects of Jesus' life invite followers to engage with his story in a cyclical, annual rhythm. These practices help to deepen the understanding of Jesus' complete journey and the profound impact of his life on humanity. This comprehensive devotion enriches the spiritual lives of Ethiopian Christians, urging them to live in a way that reflects the full spectrum of Jesus' life, his humility, his teachings, his sacrifice, and his triumph. By doing so, they become living testimonies to their faith, embodying the lessons and blessings of their Savior throughout the entirety of his divine journey. Perspectives beyond canonical texts and develop a deeper appreciation for the diverse and intricate ways in which faith and history intertwine across a wide variety of cultures and traditions. By delving into non-traditional and lesser-known texts, we can gain insights into the lived experiences and spiritual narratives of communities often overlooked by mainstream discourse. Such an exploration not only broadens our understanding of sacred histories, but also enriches our knowledge of how different societies have woven faith into the fabric of daily life, morality, and identity throughout time. Thank you for joining this fascinating exploration into the myriad ways people have sought meaning, community, and connection through the complex tapestry of the world's spiritual heritage. Explore the fascinating era known as the Years of Jesus Christ, a period that has profoundly shaped religious and world history. By examining the cultural, social, and historical significance of his life and teachings, we uncover a narrative that continues to influence millions around the globe. Furthermore, immerse yourself in Ethiopia's deep-rooted biblical heritage, a nation where Christianity has thrived since ancient times. Ethiopia's distinct contributions, such as its ancient Christian traditions and unique manuscripts, have played a significant role in the broad tapestry of Christian history. Subscribe now to join a thought-provoking exploration, enriching your understanding of the influential role Ethiopia has played in the Christian narrative, past and present. Let's illuminate this journey together, uncovering inspiring stories and historical insights.